know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by Lee Goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE. Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
That is it. That is all she wrote. The fat lady has sung. The night has come. The Bucs season is officially over in the year of 2024. They have been eliminated from the playoffs by the Washington Commanders, and now they face a fierce 2025 offseason in the eyes with a lot of big decisions to make. And we will be here along the way of those big decisions being made to bring you guys the latest and greatest news, notes, updates, and more of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers as we're officially, sadly, for better or for worse, in off-season mode, in off-season coverage here on the Buccaneers. J-Lo, how the hell you doing, brother? Wish it was better circumstances with the game in about 5-6 hours for the Bucs, but that's not the case. That's the way the cookie crumbled, and here we are. It's off-season time for us, me, you, and the rest of the game.
Yeah, unfortunately, things didn't work out the way
I blame you for going.
It is what it is, brother. I mean, I never want to miss out on a playoff atmosphere, but
If you weren't there, we would have won the game.
Yeah, you put the blame on me. I'll take it.
I'm kidding, bro. That's just how it happens, man. At least you got to see a playoff game with your daughter.
Oh, it was awesome. Like I said, my daughter had a great time. That's all that matters, at this point. But here's some positive notes I will say. It was a close, hard-fought game. Unfortunately, it came down to a turnover. I felt that kind of pretty much put the L on us. But there's some positives to look into it, It's not like we got blown out of the water like some of these other teams have, So that's
almost every other game.
Literally, I think our game was the closest one out of the other playoff games. So, as a Bucs fan, it's disappointing, but there are some positives heading to the offseason. I think we're a couple players away from really making a strong run for a championship, truthfully.
Yeah, our defense, we got the X's and O's down, and I've read this quote on Twitter, but we don't got the Jimmies and Joes. We do have Winfield, but he was banged up all year. Kalijah Kancey is a beast. He's a dog. And I'm going to say something right now. PFF, I'll never trust you guys again. You guys are cowards and snakes with your guys' grades on football players. You guys tried to really say that Kalijah Kancey was the worst graded player on the Bucs this past week. J-Lo, did you see that? What is their deal with Kalijah Kancey? And then 2 weeks ago, they graded Yaya Diaby as the worst ranked Buc player, and he won NFC Defensive Player of the Week. So moving forward, take these half-ass PFF grades with a grain of salt, right or right?
They're not real fans. I mean, to me, they're just kicking us when we're down and pretty much not really watching these young players develop. I mean, Yaya, he's getting closer to being a really good pass rusher. I mean, he's our best one, if you ask me, as far as, the edge rusher. Kalijah Kancey, I mean, the guy is warrants that 2.0. I feel he's definitely a guy who's going to get into a quarterback's head and probably get those late pushes here and there just to, get the quarterback wild up. I mean, that's what I like. Kancey, I feel, is going to have an even bigger year next year, and Yaya, Like I mentioned, I think we're a couple players on defense to really being dominant again like we were in the past.
And that's exactly right. As we are talking about that live on the Buccaneers, we see your guys' questions. We'll get to them shortly. Olivia says, good morning. Good morning, Olive. Love having you here as always. Mr. Magic, my cousin just sold bowls a Mercedes. That's pretty cool. Tell your cousin that we tell Bulls we appreciate his services. And actually, unlike other Bucs fans and podcasts, we do like Todd Bowles here, and we do think he deserves another chance. What are some offseason moves you want to see? Godwin getting the tag? No, sir. Chris Godwin will not be getting the franchise tag, Mr. Magic. Not to burst your bubble, but it's reported, J-Lo, that if the Bucs did give Chris Godwin the franchise tag, it would cost the Bucs nearly $38 million for the tag, J-Lo. That rules that out of the question and out of the picture, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I mean, he don't deserve to get tagged. I mean, I think, you know, obviously, you know, some fans don't really look at the caps, you know, the cap and the amount of money we got to pay Godwin, but at the end of the day, tag is not an option. I read that in the Greg Allman report on social media yesterday about that. I feel that the Bucs can come to probably a 2-year short deal, maybe 22 to 23 million. It's very possible they can do that. You know, I feel Godwin's not going anywhere. I feel like he lights it here. And like I said, I mean, he's had bad luck with 2 significant injuries, but I feel he'll come back. And you know Light's going to draft another receiver, you know, like he's done the last couple seasons to step in. You know, that's what Light's, you know, built on is drafting depth players to back up the starters. So, but Godwin, I think, will be back. I'm not worried about that at all. I feel go ahead.
As Buchan alludes to and as you alluded to, J-Lo, he won't be getting the tag. It's too expensive. Multiple factors. He's been tagged twice, which every time you get tagged, it increases your tag value. And number 2, J-Lo, the wide receiver market in terms of price has gone up like crazy. Guys like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and those getting these big paydays. So between Godwin already getting tagged a couple times and the wide receiver market moving in terms of money, dollars, and cap hit, both of those things to equate to an astronomical price if you were to tag Godwin. Now, what you could do, J-Lo, and I think you were going to get into this as well, you could give him a 1 to 2 year deal, not a prove it deal because he's already proven it already, but you could give him a 1 to 2 year deal, which benefits his pockets nicely coming off a huge injury and keeps him in Tampa Bay. And then after that, if he proves he's right back to the old Godwin, you could talk contract negotiations and extend him. But my hope would be give him a 2 year deal. If it needs to be 1, so be it. But try and give him a 2 year, around $45 million deal. $40 million deal. And the next season, you could worry about Mike alone. And then the season after, you could worry about Chris alone. I don't want to face a crossroads, J-Lo, where we're worried about these 2 cats in the same offseason. And we're also going to get into how the Bucs can potentially play cap gymnastics, not in this episode, but down the road. The Bucs can save some money by reworking Wirf's contract, extending a guy like Cade Otton. They could save some money by shifting his salary. But J-Lo, the Bucs are going to have to get creative with cap gymnastics, contract extensions, and whatnot. And some good news is, J-Lo, the Bucs will maybe keep Spytek and Greenberg now because the Jets keep interviewing candidates. The Titans hired someone. We'll get into that. Raiders kind of scares me for Spytek. But at the end of the day, J-Lo, the Bucs are going to have to do a lot of cap gymnastics and some other creative things like they do every offseason. But I do believe Chris Godwin will get a 1 to 2, hopefully 2, because I want these guys to not be worried about it at the same time. What's your thoughts on that, J-Lo?
Couldn't agree more. I feel a 2-year short-term deal will probably work out for itself. And I'm pretty sure Chris has talked to Mike about, you know, how that worked for him last year, you know, because that was a really tough time, and I know what Mike was going to do. But I think Chris, you know, he loves being here. The continuity, playing with Baker. I just don't see Chris really leaving. But a short-term deal, like you said, not a prove-it deal, but let's just say it's a 2-year short-term deal, you know, because he did suffered a dislocated ankle, and that's not always easy to come back from. But I do feel he can overcome that. But a 2-year short deal by now is probably the best fit. You know, he's not going to get that $25 to $26 million deal. No team's going to pay him that kind of money, unfortunately, just because of his injury alone. But
and he's had a couple of year-ending injuries now, not just this year.
Yes, exactly. And you got to think about the team itself. I mean, yeah, you get, Godwin can come back. Levante, we'll see what happens there. What he decides. I feel he's going to come back for another year. He played at a pretty high level still, but that's just a wait game. See what happens, especially with all the speculation with Bulls and everything, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. We're joined by a great crowd right now in the comments. We got Buckin saying lots of wide receiver needy teams out there this year and a great class. T. Higgins is the grand prize. Godwin is probably second best. And Reyes, my cousin, shout out cousin Reyes, reiterates that sentiment saying T. Higgins primary concern for the wide receiver market. Bucs will be fine keeping Godwin, only missing a few pieces, in my opinion. And then Pep and Steppen, our guy, says we have the best GM in the football league. I'm not worried. God damn it, bullshit, Super Bowl next year. I'll say a couple of things to all of that. Great commentary by all. To Reyes and Buckin's point, yeah, T. Higgins is going to be the one, the apple of the eye. He's a little bit younger. His shelf life's a little better, hasn't had as many injuries, which is fine. Give me Godwin under the radar. That's all fine. And B, it is a good wide receiver class. You could have 3 or 4 wide receivers taken in the top 10 to 15. Now, is that because the wide receivers are that great, or is it because the quarterbacks are that diminished in this class? Could be a little bit of both. But at the end of the day, you guys are absolutely right, Buckin and Reyes. T. Higgins will be at the top of that list. We'll get some other top free agent wide receiver names as well. But Pep and Steppen makes a good point, because to me, our Super Bowl window opens next year, really. I mean, would have been nice to win it last year or this year, but really the Bucs window starts opening this next year, because you're going to have a lot of these guys under long contract. Let's be honest, this year, when you looked at that defense, yes, we were hoping Super Bowl, but we knew we were missing some key pieces. Wide receivers in the free agent market, by the way, going to be a lot of good ones out there. Stephon Diggs, T. Higgins, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Brandon Cooks, Deontay, Mr. 5 Teams Johnson, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, Hollywood Brown, Demarcus Robinson. So there are some names out there, Tyler Boyd and the likes of such, that will be free agents. Justin Watson, ex-Buck out there. I wouldn't mind seeing him come back in a depth role, but I'm not worried about Godwin with those names. Those are some guys. A guy like Cooper, a guy like Keenan Allen, a guy like Stephon Diggs, they'll get 1-year deals from playoff-ready teams, ready to win now teams, kind of maybe push Godwin back a little bit. Teams don't know how he'll respond into this year, but we do have the best GM in the league. And as Ray has said, we are missing a few key pieces. As we were alluding to, J-Lo, we have Cansey, we have Vito, we have Levante David and Winfield. But outside of that, on defense, we're missing a little depth. We're missing a little star power. We saw it in the preseason when Bryce Hall went down, our cornerback number 2 or 3 coming into the year. He went down. And then throughout the year, Dean was in and out. And by the way, I will say, all these fans, this is why we should have traded Dean instead of Carlton. Carlton Davis missed 4 or 5 games this year as well. And on top of that, he's probably not going to play today in the playoffs, or maybe return at all this year. So miss me with that. We got rid of the wrong corner nonsense. We had to get rid of one last year because they're literally mirror images of each other. But to me, J-Lo, we're only going to talk about this a little bit, but I'd love if the Bucs, to me, get veteran edge presence, because Jason Light's resume with edge has been built through free agency and trades. Shaq Barrett brought in, phenomenal signing. Jason Pierre-Paul, you traded for. Great addition. You look at the draft of edging, it's not as great. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, first-round pick. Yeah, he would have been okay later on, but that early, Yaya Diaby, he's the best one. He's been coming into his own. But outside of that, you have Anthony Nelson. He's been all right. Hasn't been that great. Hasn't been terrible. Jose Ramirez can't even get on the field. Andre Anthony, we released without even playing it down for us. And Chris Braswell hasn't looked his part. So to me, I'd go veteran edge opposed. You still draft one later in the draft, but not right away. I'm going either cornerback, lockdown cornerback, round 1, J-Lo, or to me, linebacker. Say if Levante retires and you don't bring back KJ Britt, and you're just sitting there with Servachier, Dennis, and J.J. Russell, I'd maybe consider a linebacker in round 1 or 2 as well. But to me, I'd like to sign an okay corner, sign an okay linebacker, sign a premier edge or trade for a premier edge, then use our first-round pick on a really up-and-coming corner, second-round pick on a really nice profiled linebacker out of the draft, and our third-round pick perhaps on an edge, Mr. J-Lo. What say you?
To me, I feel they gotta get a really good edge. I mean, elite would be nice, but to me, you gotta get a good edge rusher, a proven one that can get after the quarterback to
Couldn't
make this
agree more.
defense work. And then a corner, yes, because obviously Dean's gonna be gone. We're not gonna pay
And I'm
him all that
fine if
money.
they sign an okay corner and then attack that first round. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
No, I agreed. I mean, I feel like it's gonna be either edge, DB, or linebacker. You nailed it on the head. And then also, there's a name I'll throw out there just to give everybody a little, something to think about. Trey Hendrickson. He's going to be out there, possibly the free agent.
Great
Bengals,
name.
That's a guy who I think would be a very underrated pickup, and I think he's worth paying a little bit more for. That can, help get to the quarterback. And then if you do that, then trade your first round or first rounder for like a Garrett, a Crosby, you know, one of those elite pass rushers. So you go get a Trey Hendrickson, you put your bingo chips in him because we will have the cap to do it. Then you go draft a elite corner or now go linebacker. Hell, I'll double dip on linebacker, go back to back. Why not? You never know who's going to get injured. Because we're very injury prone, and because obviously Brett, I don't think will be back. I think he pretty much lost his spot, pretty much not playing much in the playoffs.
Poor
They
man's
had
Devin
Deion
White.
Jones and more. Huh?
Poor
Oh
man's
yeah,
Devin
that
White.
one. Pretty much. But however though, I feel you go get a great pass rusher, maybe not elite, but a great pass rusher, and then you go draft a corner or a linebacker the first 2 to 3 rounds. I think that's probably what's best. I mean, the offense you won't have to do as much. Maybe bring back Ben Bredesen, but I think Klein will be ready to step in that role if it comes down to it, which I'm
And
totally
let's not
okay
forget,
with.
Jay, though, left guard, I'll be interested to see because before Sua Opeta went down, he was in line to maybe start at left guard. Then he got hurt. Will the Bucs let Bredesen get a contract somewhere? Maybe bring Opeta back for cheap coming off an injury and just have him and Klein battle it out at left guard potentially?
Yes, agreed. I feel that wouldn't hurt at all. I feel like we got a top 5 offensive line, even though our center made a mistake, in the game, but it's gonna happen. He's a rookie. You gotta give him a pass. I mean, I felt he's played pretty damn good at his position, and then you got, Tristan, Gadecki, and then you got Cody Mock. I mean, these are really good linemen. I think Gadecki is going to be the next one to get a big contract extension because he's earned it on that part. But
Yep.
I agree with the Peta and Klein bowing it out because Peta won't cost much to bring him back, and he
Mm-mm.
and he might be even better than Bredesen if he wouldn't have got hurt. You never know. But I feel with the offense side of the ball, you resign Godwin, and I think we'll be fine. We won't have to go get a big time player on the offense side of the ball. It's more on the defense we got to focus on, because if you get that pass rush in there, then guess what? The zone's going to be gone, and you can actually play man, which some of these players are better at. And plus, a healthy Antoine Winfield Jr., we'll get that all pro safety back, hopefully. Whitehead, hopefully, he'll come back from his injury because we signed him for a 2-year deal, so he'll be back.
Yeah, we got him for another year regardless because it would be just cap problems if not. Speaking of problems,
Oh,
we got a
hey.
problem on our hand right here, right now. We got the great Gene from Buck What You Heard. Gene, we wish it was under better moments, better circumstances, brother, but 2024 came to a close. In your opinion, what went wrong to end the Bucs season, brother? Nice to have you back.
Yeah, the injuries killed us. I believe that if we had Chris Godwin, we could have overcome a lot of the defensive liabilities. I believe that he was a big part of the offense in the first part of the season and until he went down. And I believe having him, in when Mike Evans was hurt, that kind of hindered us a little bit more as well. The defense, they were a liability, but there were times where we could have got another score if we could have got closer to the red zone. if we didn't have as many 3-and-outs, if Baker had better options than what he had, I believe that this team, but it's just injuries are just so hard to overcome, especially when there's a drop off to the next level of talent that you're putting on the field.
Yeah, and Gene, are you in Tampa right now for Gasparilla, or a little too early for that?
I'm actually in the kids parade here in about an hour. It starts at 4, so I'll get there. I'll actually get to the parade site here in a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's what, the Chick-fil-A Children's Parade or something like that.
This is the kids parade. Yeah.
That'll be awesome. So you could get a little bit of Buck what you heard this morning in the Tampa area in the parade, Gene. When did you get down there, bro? You've been down there a while now, right?
Yeah, I got there on Thursday.
And how is it go? It's a little chilly down there for Tampa.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. I'm loving it. I'm sleeveless.
Hey, let's go. Well, you know as well as I do that yeah, we still go to that weather and we think it's beautiful. So that's great to see, my friend. Just kind of give us, I guess, a glimpse or preview of Gasparilla events or activities that you have in your near future then.
All right. Yeah, we're float number 70 and 71. I'll be on the Santa Margarita and throwing out beads. If you see me, say hi. I'll definitely get some beads your way.
Yeah, and you think today will be a crowded one, or do more people pop up?
This is more for the kids. It's more laid back, no alcohol. So just getting the kids a chance to catch some beads because it's kind of cutthroat next week for that parade. So just getting out there and, just having some fun.
That'll be a lot of fun, brother. That'll be a lot of fun indeed. So I'm glad you're down there, my friend. Hey, that would have been cool if you would have got to see a home playoff game, maybe.
You know what? I love what the team did. They overcame a lot of obstacles, but it's just they didn't have all the weapons in their gun to go up against some of these other teams. I think they've always been competitive. We've seen that throughout the year. It's just kind of hard to overcome those injuries.
Yeah, and we're all fans and podcasters and whatnot, so sometimes you might get a little, not blinded, but, you might think a little too highly of some stuff. And I think one of the oversights was the lack of, not because of, how the roster was constructed, but just the injury decimation to our linebackers. If we have Servachier Dennis, that's probably a whole different game as well.
Yeah, most definitely. And, I want to apologize because I was just frustrated. I hate Atlanta. I hate Dallas. You lose to Atlanta twice. You lose to Dallas. And that just rubs me the wrong way just because I dislike those teams that much. But what I will say is the Bucs they won some games they weren't supposed to win with the roster that they had. So I'm really proud of what they were able to accomplish. Mike Evans reaching a milestone where you have to mention him and Jerry Rice in the same breath is huge. I mean, the Bucs got it done. And the fact that they got it done the way they did, it was storybook to get him that record the way they did and how they've done it. And, we that's something we can all be proud of because we were all here to witness it.
And I think the takeaway, too, on top of that, the way they ended the season between the Evans and the epic comeback against the Saints was fantastic. And then it really feels like you watch an entire Bucs game and you think if that happens 9 out of 10 times, the Bucs win that football game. It seemed like the Bucs were the better teams. They just had a mistake here and there that you haven't seen all season. They were great and end arounds all season. Jalen McMillan and Baker Mayfield have been great. Graham Barton has been pretty damn good. These players make a couple little mistakes here and there. Zion, McCollum, and Dean go out of the game, so Hayes has to step in. Unfortunately, he lets up a touchdown. Just the timely, costly injuries and a little misexecution. If the Bucs fine-tuned all that, they could have, should have, would have won that game by 6, 7, 8 points. But if you
look at the season as a whole, the Bucs, I would say the Ravens game and the Broncos game were the only two games where they were totally outmatched. Everything else the Bucs did, they were in the game. They could have won the game. They were competitive. Kansas City, you take the world champions to overtime, and and a lot of people look back and there's a chance that they could have won that game with just regular regulation, they could have won that game. And there's just a lot of like you said, shoulda, coulda, woulda. But again, I'm proud of this team with the level of injuries that they had. Pro Bowl players out. Your a lot of first string players out, and they were still able to accomplish quite a bit.
And as you alluded to, Gene, they beat teams like the Lions, the Commanders in the regular season, the Eagles, the Chargers. And not only did they beat those teams, they kicked the ass of the Chargers, the Eagles, and the Commanders in the regular season. So, and then they lost a lot of very close games. This Bucs team isn't far off, ladies and gentlemen. They just need one thing for sure. And to me, if Bowles and Coen are both back as a unit, I think we're going to make a lot of noise regardless, because I think Jason Light understands, hey, whether Bowles retires or we lose Liam next offseason, this coaching staff ain't going to be around forever. And right. I think this year, Gene, is really the offseason that you see the Bucs step it up a notch. I think they view 2025, 2026 as their quote unquote Rochambeau to try and win one more.
They got to go all in. I mean, Evans is getting older. I don't even know if Levante David's back next year. Just so many questions this offseason. But if you're a listener and you're a huge Bucs fan, don't get caught up in the hype of, fire the coach or do this. Let's let Jason Light cook. Jason Light has done an amazing job. He's made so much out of a little cap room, and I feel like he's put this team in a position where they can get some key players and really make that push. And I hope for starters, it starts at linebacker, and then actually all defense, edge rusher. I guess we can go out and say that Joe Tryon Shoyinka was not who we thought he was when he was drafted. So it's going to be interesting to see how they replace some of these edge rushers and upgrade in a lot of these positions.
And yeah, Gene, I think you hit the nail on the head there. JTS was one of those big-bodied, physical type guys. And not to say he was awful or even bad in his time here in Tampa. I think just for a first-round pick standpoint, you expected a little more. He was getting to the quarterback but couldn't close on the quarterback.
Right.
He would get to the edge, but he couldn't close the gap on the edge. He had a lot of potential, a lot of promise, but he never had a lot of finishes or a lot of big-time plays. You could see he's almost there, but I don't know if his next opportunity to get to where he has to be comes with the Bucs, because to me, Todd Bowles, Casey Rogers, I mean, look at how good our D-line plays. Logan Hall even made big improvements this year. Greg Gaines was even on top of the damn world in that playoff game. Kancey looked incredible. Vea, one thing that the Bucs could do is have the D-line look really damn good all the time. And I count edges with the D-line as well. And the fact of the matter is JTS had 4 years to get traction on his feet without doing that. So
it was one of those chances. I mean, he passed the eye test, he passed the physical abilities and stuff. It's just he couldn't ever get home and couldn't get home consistently. And then that made it tougher on your linebacker core. And not having somebody on the other side of Levante David was a struggle, and we saw that. And, again, I know that Jason Light watches millions of hours more film than we do. He's definitely going to come in and make some needed changes and put this team in a position to win.
Yeah, so, Gene, I know you got Gasparilla and whatnot. Are you going to be hanging a little longer, or do you have to bounce out of here shortly?
I have to bounce out. I'm here at Cigar City. I'm going to pick up a couple of beers because, just before pregame, before the parade, and because, it's a kids' parade, and you have to be on your best behavior. So
drink some apple juice and have a great time, brother, and just enjoy it out there, man. Bucs football or not, we know we love our city, and I know you represent the best of the Bays, so that's awesome that they have you there, brother, and you're going to do great things. You enjoy your time out there, my friend. Thanks for stopping by.
Have a good time, Gene.
All right, guys.
Enjoy it, brother.
All right.
We love you, Gene. We'll see you soon, brother. That is the great Gene from Buck What You Heard, as we're bringing in the great Joey Nips from Cleve and me, and from our weekend episodes here of the Buccaneers as we talk all things sport. Joey, to put a bow on it for this pod as we try and move forward here, obviously you were home. Bucs season came crashing to an end in shitty fashion, because it does feel like the Bucs were the better football team at the end of that day. They just didn't have the game of inches on their side. The ball didn't bounce their way, and they made a couple pivotal mistakes, and injuries happen at the worst times possible, and they end up losing that game. What say you on where the Bucs stand heading into 2025? What would you like to see, Joey, for this Bucs team to not go from playoff contenders just next year, but elevate themselves to Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah, and listen, that game, like you said, usually when the Bucs score first, especially a touchdown, things are pretty bright. They've had some comebacks this year, but like that Saints game, they started slow. And to me, when you lose a big game like you did in the playoffs, a couple of things that haunted you all regular season long usually come up during this time. The defense did good points-wise, but long drives were allowed. That's because the pass rush and the linebacker depth has not been adequate enough all season, and that's what leads to long drives. I'm used to that myself in Indianapolis. On the other side of the ball, turnovers. Of course, I'm not blaming Barton for anything. Rookie had a great year. I didn't really see that many mental mistakes, but the Baker one was big, and I'm a huge fan of his, and that won't stop now just because he had one turnover that really hurt, but at the same time, he had a really good season and should be in the Pro Bowl. But going into next year, really, you just got to, to me, on offense, it's simple. Bring Godwin back either on the franchise tag or a short-term deal, and then defensively just attack it in the draft and free agency. Let's get a pass rusher in here. That way you single up guys who aren't as good when there's not a double team. For example, that would help if these guys are back, like people like JTS. Yaya is actually pretty much fine, but he would be freed up a lot more. Get somebody who could attack the pass rush. And then at linebacker, if Levante David isn't back, that's a really big blow, because then I think some serious work needs to be done in the linebacker room. Right now, if Levante David gets brought back, okay, fine. You just need one more filler, injuries, people come back, so that changes. But to me, if Levante retires, then we might be in a little bit of trouble there. But they would have Jason Light, I trust in making it come back.
Yeah, and I'm in agreement with you. And I would hope it sounds like JTS and Nelson are both teetering with the thought of leave. And I'm sure Robert Hainsey, he's my free agent to watch, actually. I think he actually ends up getting pretty good money somewhere, being starting center for a couple of years and whatnot. But the Bucs have some defensive calls to make. As you said, I think they get an edge in here. It really helps out the edge room next year. A guy like Chris Braswell, who struggled this year as a rookie, gets a little bit more one-on-one opportunities next year. So, and linebacker, that's my big concern. Now, the nice thing about inside linebacker, those are the ones you could get a little cheaper in free agency. Those are the ones you could get in late round 1, round 2, and have him start off the bat. Look at the Lions with Campbell at their linebacker. But to me, those three are clearly the biggest needs. J-Lo said it, I said it, you said it, Gene said it as well. Is sadly, ladies and gentlemen, we're closing the book on the Bucs 2024 season, but we are here in the Buccaneers in our Saturday Showdown weekend of football kickoff show, which will happen weekly through the Super Bowl. Then we got not a huge tweak in the schedule in the offseason, but we will announce our offseason lineup changes when the time comes. Again, you'll still be seeing us on Saturdays. Maybe not everyone, but we'll announce that when the time comes. The Bucs do pick 19th overall, ladies and gentlemen, so they win the tiebreaker there. There's teams with the same record that pick 20th and 21st. The Bucs pick 19th, which is actually a pretty damn good draft pick. Joey, speaking of draft pick, it's like the Colts are almost drafting a defensive coordinator. There's so many top-end candidates out there. You have a laundry list of not only just names, but household names, to say the least. This is probably, since I could remember, this is undoubtedly the best time to ever need a defensive coordinator, in my opinion, for an NFL team. I can't remember the last time we've had this many high-profiled candidates. Some of the names out there: Robert Saleh, Wink Martindale, Wilkes, the former Cardinals head coach, Matt Eberflus, the former Bears coach, Lou Anarumo, Pagano's brother, John Pagano, Jerome Mayo, Pierce, the former Raiders head coach, Dennis Allen. The list keeps going. Joey, where do the Colts stand in their search? And who do you want out of that laundry list, or is it outside of that laundry list, as your guy to man the Colts defense in 2025.
Yeah, like you said, many good options. I mean, the latest one to interview is Dennis Allen yesterday, who is a really good coordinator. Sometimes people get lost between head coaching and coordinators, but Dennis Allen's one of the best on the defensive front, as you guys know, in his New Orleans day at the coordinator position. And then Wink Martindale, I always liked him. He actually was a finalist for the Colts head coaching job a couple years ago before we hired Steichen. I think it was him, Martindale, I believe.
And Raheem Morris.
Raheem the Dream and Aaron Glenn were like the final four. But so Martindale, Dennis Allen, even Lou Anaromo, I really like. And then Antonio Pierce. I mean, there's so many good ones, Saleh, all of them. If I had to choose one, I really just want somebody who plays more aggressive, honestly. I'm fine with keeping the scheme the same because that's a lot to overhaul when you go from 4-3 to 3-4. But a guy like Wink who brings a ton of pressure, Dennis Allen who picks his spots very because it's not like I know he has New Orleans lineman. I don't mention him because he's overrated, but he brought a lot of pressure in many different packages as well. So I'm looking for somebody with pressure. And if I had to really go to it, Dennis Allen, Wink Martindale would be my probably top two. But like you said, I wouldn't be upset about 5 or 6 possible options.
I think another fun one, I think Steve Wilkes wouldn't be a terrible name out there.
I like Steve Wilkes as well.
He gets after it. I remember when he was the interim coach with Carolina, our offense couldn't really get anything. But John Pagano helping Washington this year get their defense back on track with a lot of rookies and lesser names. So you're really in good hands out there if you're a Colts fan. They also interviewed a Browns assistant. But really any of those names we mentioned. J-Lo, do you have a preference out of that laundry list of names before we move on to more football talk and chatter?
I mean, you can't go wrong with any of those lists. Me, I would say Robert Saleh. I think he was great in San Francisco.
I'm going to assume he goes to San Fran. I know that's not a guarantee, but just by the whirlwinds and how it sounds, it does sound like he might go to San Fran.
Yeah, I mean, he'll probably go there, but that's who I like the most out of the group. But he'll probably off the list. But the dude from Michigan, he'd be Wink. He'd be really good, I think. Aggressiveness, and he did a lot of great things in Michigan. He was in Baltimore before then, and Baltimore was a well-respected defense before he left. And then Steve Wilkes, that's another one. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of these candidates. One of them will, fit the bill.
Oh, mate, we lost J-Lo there.
Can you hear me?
No, you're good now, J-Lo. We could hear you now. Keep going.
No, I was saying you can't go wrong with those lists of people. Even Dennis Allen, who I think would be a great fit over there as well. And probably won't lose him to a head coaching gig because, he's 0 for 2 now. So that's another thing you got to look at as well, because sometimes these defense coordinators turn out really good, especially these younger ones, and they go take a head coaching job. So Wink, I feel, wouldn't be a bad one, but I would definitely go with a younger one and Dennis Allen.
One thing that I like with – and J-Lo, with the names you mentioned, Dennis Allen, Robert Saleh, with a guy like Steve Wilkes, I kind of like that too. You get a little bit more of a veteran coaching experience edge. Maybe Shane Steichen needs somebody to lead on in tough times, and you would have a veteran experience head coach like a Wilkes or Allen, but can't go wrong either way. The only one, it's always hard to go back in time. Eberflus would maybe be a little weird fit, but Puckhead says need heavier ones as cold blast coming. Well, put on 2 or 3 damn pairs of socks, my friend. We do that around here.
Sock up.
Sometimes you got to get like Jen Psaki and get Psaki out in that neck of the woods in Nebraska. Speaking of neck of the woods, we're in the neck of the woods where we are talking all things football. And real quick, I just wanted to mention a quick topic here because it is in the AFC South, very close with the Colts, and the Bucs had some ties there as well. John Spytek did not get the Titans general manager gig. I was very nervous about that in the Bucs front office. He could still get the Raiders with the Tom Brady connect, but I was nervous he'd maybe take or get hired by the Titans. Instead, Tennessee's going with Chiefs assistant GM Mike Borgonzi, and a couple of things there. To me, it's kind of bullshit that a GM in the playoffs could hire somewhere, but a coach in the playoffs can't, right? Like, to me, that's kind of not a lateral thing that makes a ton of sense to me. I get coaching is more important this time of year, but there's still roster development and construction that needs to be made. So to me, that's a little bit of a red flag that you could hire front office people, but you can't hire coach. To me, you shouldn't be able to hire anybody until the season's over. I don't care if they're in the front office or whatnot. And B, we saw it with the Patriots dynasty where all their coaches or office guys would get hired and they kind of flopped. Kind of seeing the same with the Chiefs nowadays where they get hired elsewhere and they're kind of flopping. Eric Bieniemy, Matt Nagy, and the like. So we'll start with you here, J-Lo, then we'll get Joey's takes. Do you like this pick for the Titans, and what say you on the rule where, hey, a GM getting hired is all fine and dandy, but don't you dare hire a head coach?
No, I agree with the whole, whoever gets hired should wait till the season's end on that part. I feel Spytek was probably more deserving of that Tennessee job, but you know what? It is what it is. We still have him for now. I think the Raiders are a big threat. I think they could be a team that can steal
And look
them
at what
away.
Buckins said. Spytek and Brady were teammates at Michigan.
Yeah, I knew about that as well. I feel Brady's definitely going to, do some picking of the Bucs front office, and I feel Spytek will get the Raiders job. And if he gets it, good for him, well-deserved. The Bucs got a lot of great, positions in front office where they can promote somebody. I think Greenberg stays because obviously it's been a long process for the Jets, which would be good. So we'll still have Greenberg, and we got a couple other guys in there too. So, but Spytek, he deserves it. It's time for him to, spread his wings, go work for Brady and the Raiders, help, fits their roster.
As long as he doesn't take Liam Coen, that's fine with me.
Oh yeah, that too. That's another big one, and that's another thing to look out for too. But I feel as Coen goes, if I'm a betting man, I bet he stays another year. That's my prediction right there.
I was on the great J.C. Allen's Pirate Parlay podcast the other day. J.C. Allen does great work writing for Bucs Game Day, which is Sports Illustrated, had his own podcast. J-Lo, he put it at an 85% chance that Liam Coen will be back. And as Buckins said, downside of being six. Yeah, Commanders are going to experience the same pain. Cliff Kingsbury is getting knocked at his door, but kudos to Cliff Kingsbury. He said, I ain't looking at one damn interview until after the playoffs. So, but yeah, these teams that hire defense or special teams head coaches are going to be in a never-ending spot. Joey, what say you on the Titans hiring of Mike Borgonzi? Is he going to be another one of these Patriots-Chiefs flops? And what say you on the fact of, hey, what the fuck is that? A GM could get hired, but head coach? Nope, sorry, you got to wait, bud.
Oh, first off, on the hire, really hard to say because, between Chicago and Indianapolis, we've hired GMs from Kansas City, and they're both middle of the fence on where people think about them. So, and they're both in crucial years where if they have poor seasons, it could go really south. So hard to judge a guy. Everyone says get a guy from a good organization. Well, yes, that's true. But also when you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, everything around you becomes much easier as well. In terms of the rule, I was trying to think of a counter and say, look, at least for GMs at this time, I know they can still do some minor things. Like I'm talking about the assistants to the GM, things of that nature. But really, there's not a lot of roster construction that is being done at this time. For the coaches, if you're an OC, if you're a DC, you still have to game plan and do a lot of things. I remember when Steichen was interviewing, he literally had to travel one night after watching film, then go back quickly from his meeting with Mr. Irsay and all that. So if I had to make a counter, I could say the coaches are just a little deeper and more involved and need more time, while the assistants to the GMs don't maybe have as much on their plate. But all in all, I could see where you're coming from with that.
Yeah, and my biggest thing is just, if you're still able, it's not like rosters are locked, right? We see Deontay Johnson changing teams and stuff. So it's like these guys are clearly still busy, but I get their responsibilities and roles might not be as crucial as they are during the draft or in free agency during all that stuff. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But I don't know, just weird transparency on the NFL's behalf, in my opinion, but it does make a little more sense than a coach being able to get hired. But we're joined on Facebook by the great Laura Bettiga, by Nancy, and a couple other of greats as well. We're going to get into breadwinners real quick. In a little bit, I should say. I'm sorry, not real quick. In a little bit, we had an up and down week last week, but we are 48 and 37 overall and won $8 on the week to put us at plus 124. So we're up to plus 124 on the year, 48 wins, 37 losses as we get into Red-Eye's Pick'em, college and NFL. We're going to pick all these games because every game is so important, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, here on the Buccaneers, Red-Eye's Pick'em is in honor of the great Ken Rubright, who used to be an avid listener of the shows, loved all things sports, football especially. So we honor our picks after him now. And when it's this critical of games, we throw the spreads out the window. We take the spreads into factor in the regular season for college and whatnot, but for the NFL and college football playoffs, we do throw spreads out the window. But it is time for Red-Eye's Pick'em with Joey, J-Lo, and Tones here on the Buccaneers, and we're just going to go in chronological order of games. So the first game on our docket will be the first Saturday game from today, and then we'll end with the Monday night college one. But 4:30 Eastern today, the Texans travel to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs, who many people don't want to see back in the Super Bowl. Chiefs, big favorites at home, 4:30 Eastern. Texans with a big win last week. Joey, where you going? Texans, Chiefs, and a big one.
Tough for me because I'm not a Texans guy, being a Colts fan, obviously, but also I'm really sick of Kansas City. The last thing I would want this year is like Kansas City versus Philly rematch or some bullshit like that. So eliminate Kansas City while you can. If they have a home AFC championship game, they're probably making the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, that's just the way it goes these years. So let's Houston, Mahomes hasn't played since Christmas, since that day where they literally had a Christmas Day game. So it's been some time where Russ can prevail. The Texans had a little bit of defense and Rex Ryan talk, get them amped up last week. I guess the feet man didn't have it going for him during his Jets interview.
Rexy.
He was just coming they said the Chargers had a bye week playing Houston. So
what an idiot.
I think really stupid. I think Houston's defense could really play good today. I'm worried about the Houston offense, but I think their defense can keep this in it for at least a half or three quarters.
Yeah, and this one's on ESPN, ABC, and ESPN Plus. I think a lot of people think the same as you, Joey. They hope the Chiefs get bounced, but that's a tall task to overcome. Jayla, what say you? Are you with Joey in the defending champs boat here in this one?
Yeah, unfortunately, I feel just by experience for the Chiefs, I just don't see the Texans going into their house and beating them. They'll play them close, but I just feel that the Texans offense is going to be their downfall. They just haven't had a great year on offense. I mean, they played great last week against the Chargers, but you're playing the Chiefs, who are more experienced than the Chargers at this point. So Chiefs at home.
I got the Texans in an upset, fellas. I got the Texans in an upset, and I'm going to map their way to victory right here, right now. Joey said it best. Mahomes hasn't played football in quite some time. The Chiefs haven't looked their sharpest this year, in my opinion. Out of the past couple of years, to me, this is the year that the Chiefs most look bothered and prone to be defeated. Obviously, the Texans kind of not back their way into the playoffs, but they're kind of like the Bucs, where they play in a generous division where more so, hey, someone's got to win it. The Texans came out on top. And it kind of reminds me of the year where the Giants won it with Eli for the second time. Everyone said, Giants will get killed in round one. Giants prevailed. Round two, Giants will get killed. Giants prevailed. And they kind of kept using that bulletin board material. To me, out of any season I've been around Mahomes, this is a type of season where he can get upset. Houston's playing with motivation, heart, hustle, and muscle. I think they ultimately go in there and squeak out a close one, guys. I got Houston winning this thing by a couple of points, and I don't think it's going to be a pretty game by either team, but I'm telling you, we were there for Monday night, and this feels similar to the Bucs-Chiefs game where the Bucs played them incredibly well, and they should have came out on top. We'll see if the Chiefs can end up on top ultimately, but I do think Houston goes in there. I think they win, but even if they don't, I think they go in there and play a hell of a game and give the Chiefs everything they could handle. Next up on the docket, 8 o'clock tonight, I believe. Let me make sure. Yep, 8 o'clock Eastern tonight on Fox. We got the Biden kneecaps against the backward ball caps, ladies and gentlemen. We got Dan versus Dan. Which Dan will grow bigger balls tonight? Both of these Dans live on the edge a little bit. Joey, we'll start with you again. Commandos at Detroit, 8 o'clock Eastern, Fox tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking for Detroit. I'll give a score prediction on this one since I didn't on the last game. I'm going to go Detroit 38, Washington 24. I think Detroit, and I'm not saying, it's 14 points, but that's just because it's Detroit on the road. Washington has had a very nice season, but rookie QBs on the road usually don't come up big in divisional round football. CJ Stroud at Baltimore last season. I forget even Andrew Luck, his rookie year on the road, it was actually Baltimore as well. So rookie quarterbacks, they can maybe make one thing happen here or there, but not so fast, my friends, as Lee Corso would say. Lions come up big in Campbell's house. He's been waiting for this opportunity to house a home NFC championship game next week. Lions by 14.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the rookie quarterback, the great Jaden Daniels season comes to an end. I got the Lions in this one. Look, you mentioned a couple, Lamar, him as well. A couple other rookies made the playoffs and just not crapped out. But, it's hard as a rookie to keep going. I see Detroit. And what a year, right? Detroit was the hottest talk of the town. And then for 1 to 2 weeks, the Vikings became the talk of the town. And then Detroit ended up beating him and resurfaced back. I think Dan Campbell bites the backward hat of Dan Quinn and ends up leading the Lions to victory. And Jared Goff's been there. He's been to a Super Bowl. He knows what it's like to get there and what it takes to get there. Give me the Lions by a pretty good bit in this one as well. J-Lo, thoughts? Detroit, Washington, 8 o'clock Eastern on Fox.
I think it'll be a great start of the game, close, but then I think the Lions, with the more experience, will pretty much finish them in the second half and advance to the NFC Championship game. But, hats off to Washington. They have had a good season. I feel we could have knocked them out, but unfortunately, the fumble, I feel like, is what really pretty much was the nail to the coffin to us. But back to Detroit. I feel Detroit is most deserving. And I agree with Joey. I think Campbell's definitely trying to get that host for the NFC Championship game. So give me Detroit.
3 o'clock Eastern, Sunday, January 19th of 2025. Rams, Eagles on NBC and Peacock, 3 o'clock Eastern in Philadelphia. Going to be a chilly, cold one. Rams looking to play some heart, hustle, and muscle, continuing to fight for L.A. Joey, Rams, Eagles, who prevails?
This one is a little bit tougher just because usually Philadelphia's offense has struggled this season. And the Rams defense, you don't see a bunch of names on there, but boy, they sure know how to pick it up. If you watch that game last week, Darnold was seeing ghosts out there. Different animal, obviously, being on the road. But this Rams team has something special going right now. I believe in destiny sometimes. And we did our prayers and condolences to all the people out in California last week. I think under a McVay, who's won a Super Bowl, under a Stafford, who's won a Super Bowl, a veteran, this team gets it. They're not afraid of the moment. And if you remember the Eagles game, I believe it was the NFC Championship where San Fran had a bunch of quarterbacks injured and they really didn't have anybody to play. They struggled to get by in that one. So I'm actually going to go with the Rams by a field goal with the upset.
Yeah, and funny story, what you alluded to, Joey, defense, the Rams have done such a good job of getting over the Aaron Donald retirement and settling down. If you remember the past 6 weeks of football, they've played really great football. Kind of to piggyback off that, the Raiders in the 2023 NFL draft drafted Byron Young, who's now on the Rams, or who is on the Rams. And let me make it clear. There's a story coming out now how the Raiders drafted the wrong guy because there were two people with the name of Byron Young. One was a D lineman on Alabama. The other was an edge in another school. And they wanted to draft the edge, who ended up going to the Rams. And now he has 15 and a half sacks in his first 2 NFL seasons. Instead, the Raiders called the Rams Byron Young and told them they were drafting him, and then read the wrong name and got stuck with the Alabama Byron Young, who they already released. And now that Byron Young is on a whole nother NFL team on the Eagles. So leave it up to the Raiders. They drafted the wrong Byron Young guy, and the Rams reap benefit, but that's the Raiders in a nutshell. And yeah, exactly, Buckin. Wild story, very Raiders thing to do indeed. I think the Rams play close, but their one kryptonite, Sean McVay's one kryptonite, has been the Eagles. I think it's a close game. I think Philly does eke it out, though, Mr. J-Lo. What say you?
You can't always count on Sean McVay. The guy is very scary, I feel, when it comes to his play calling. The dude's a genius. And I will be picking the Rams to go up into Philly and upset them. I'm not impressed by Philly's offense. I think Saquon Barkley's a stud. But for the most part, Hurts is just not that guy, in my opinion. I feel the Rams will go in there and get a big win over the Eagles. And I'm with Joey, probably by a field goal. It comes down to whoever has the ball last, and I feel the Rams will drive it down, and then they'll kick a game-winning field goal and go play Detroit.
I hope it would come down to that. Stafford back in his own home. I really, really do. But McVay's kryptonite to this point just has been the Eagles. But you got to get over that, like the Bucs did when they beat the Eagles back in the day. So going to be a hell of a ball game. Gloves off. Heavyweight battle over in Philly. Speaking of heavyweight battles, Sunday Night Football, 6:30 Eastern time on CBS or Paramount Plus. Baltimore heading to Buffalo in another frigid, chilly battle. Could be the two best teams in football squaring up in this one. Joey, Ravens, Bills, Jackson, Allen. What say you, Harbaugh, McDermott?
Yeah. Oh, man. I'm in a tough spot here because my prediction before the year was Ravens to make it. But I'm a big Josh Allen fan, so I go back and forth. I would love to see either of these teams make the Super Bowl in the AFC. This is who I want to represent, whoever wins this game. Lamar and Josh Allen, it's a long time coming for one of these two guys. You know, I would say the home team is the matter of, a difference maker in this one. And usually a team like Baltimore wouldn't be able to maybe reach the, tide that Buffalo's going to bring and everybody in that crowd's going to bring tomorrow. But with Derrick Henry is a different animal. I said it before the year when people started to say he's washed up. Listen, I watched him in Tennessee last season before. Things were just bad there, and he still ran people over. So a big difference could be Lamar and Derrick Henry slowing things down, getting where they need to be. And unfortunately, as much as I love Josh Allen, I think Baltimore, who started week 1 against Kansas City, and if you don't forget the end zone play where 1 foot, 2 feet down, a lot of controversy. I think the Ravens win this one 27-24 and 8. Epic matchup.
J-Lo, big battle. Baltimore, Buffalo. Joey is Baltimore. What side of the fence are you on? 6 o'clock Eastern, CBS Paramount Plus tomorrow night.
I'll tell you this right now. Whoever does win this game, I think they're going to be the ones that will be the kryptonite to the Chiefs and keep them out of the Super Bowl in Arrowhead. So with that being said, I'm a big believer in Josh Allen. I think this is his time. I know Lamar's had a great season and Derrick Henry can make a difference. But Buffalo, I feel, has played very underrated. No one's really watching how they really play. They've been pretty dominant for the most part. And Josh Allen, I feel, is going to be the one to pull this big win over Baltimore, and then I think they'll go to Arrowhead and they'll represent the Super Bowl on the AFC side. So give me the Bills in a big one, close one. But I'm gonna do a reverse on Joey here. Give me Buffalo 27, Baltimore 24. Buffalo will get a game-winning touchdown to advance.
This game is very tough to predict. It's a great matchup, very hard one to predict. Lamar and Josh Allen, both deserving of the MVP. Give me Buffalo because they're the home team. They got the home field advantage. To me, whoever's home in this one squeaks away with it. Excuse me. Of course, the past 4 years, I've been picking Buffalo to make the postseason. This year I picked Bengals, and now Bills might make it. So I'm going to root for the Bills. I mean, I don't. Whoever wins that one, I hope advances. I like both the teams, both the quarterbacks, but give me Buffalo. Last game on the docket, the big behemoth in the world of college football. This is Joey's Notre Dame Fighting Irish look to bring home the big gold in the first ever real big expanded 12-team college football playoffs. Ladies and gentlemen, the last Monday night football game of the year for the world of college football. Notre Dame, Ohio State, 7:30 Eastern, Monday night on ESPN. J-Lo, we're going to start with you on this one. Ohio State, Notre Dame.
As much as I hate Ohio State, I do feel this is going to be Notre Dame's toughest game of the year. But I'm still a believer in Riley Leonard. And that coach is not, very underrated, Coach Freeman. I feel Notre Dame is going to get over the hump and win their first national championship in a long time. Give me the Fighting Irish over the Buckeyes.
Joey, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Give us a little background on how you're feeling and who you ultimately end up prevailing. I feel like I know who you're going with.
Well, listen, Ohio State is a bunch of scum-sucking sons of bitches, motherfuckers who I cannot stand. Ohio State is a bunch of crookless pieces of shit. I hate them. I absolutely cannot stand the Buckeyes. That being said, the spread is disrespectful as well. Marcus Freeman is the best coach in the nation at this time. We might not have the most talented team always. You might have seen that a little bit against Penn State. But this team battles when they're down. They do not quit. They will keep fighting. That's why we are the Fighting Irish. For the haters out there, this is a lot. I've heard a lot of people over the past couple of weeks saying, you know what? I wish Rudy tore his ACL during that movie, but I love this Notre Dame team now.
What?
Because Marcus Freeman has things going. Yes, Rich Eisen said during that movie, all he did was hope for a Rudy injury, but now he can't help but love Notre Dame because Marcus Freeman has installed a different way of winning and battling in there. A lot of people are on this train right now, and a lot of people don't like Ohio State, so let's keep it going. Use the running game. We have 3 running backs who over 700 yards this season. That is not a misprint. That is one of the best running games in the nation. So use that, and even Riley can run. Don't turn the ball over and get after it on defense. We have a few players who would probably you'll see pop up in the NFL draft in the first few rounds. Our safety is one of them alongside, Bryant Young's kid, Ryan Clark's kid, former NFL stars. Keep grinding, keep battling Monday night. A lot of good things happen Monday, by the way. Very many good things. But sticking to the national championship.
The best things, the most beautiful things, the greatest things.
Exactly. And we're off that day, baby. So I'm going to come home, watch with y'all. Me Pops, and my last comment is Me Pops and Mr. H, one of his best friend. We're at a Notre Dame game this year, and we had something sad happen during.
I had a ticket to the game.
Exactly. You did have a ticket, and we needed that extra seat because it gets a little tight, those stadium seats over there.
Yeah.
Ever since that bad moment for that game, the Irish have just moved on and just bludgeoned everybody. And I think that continues. I'm going Notre Dame 28, Ohio State 23.
I'll be rooting the hell for the Irish. I'll be going like crazy. But, man, it just feels like there's a big talent deficiency in this football game. It just feels like Ohio State has better talent all around. I mean, the number one receiver potentially in upcoming draft classes only caught 1 pass for 4 yards in Ohio State's last showing, and they still made it look pretty easy against Texas. I mean, this is a team that many people doubted, many people hated on, and many people said they'd be a one and done against Tennessee when they got into the playoffs, but they beat Tennessee, and they kept moving forward, putting their best foot down, and here they are in the championship game. Kind of funny because history-wise, these are probably 2 of the more disliked teams in American college football history, given the history and whatnot, but they have 2 dedicated fan bases, and I feel like Notre Dame is turning the tide. I feel like it's hard to hate this current Notre Dame team with a guy like Marcus Freeman. Now, I'll tell you right now, I'm a big Penn State guy. We did have the better talent that game, but Notre Dame had the more heart. One guy I can't trust right now on Notre Dame, though, is Riley Leonard. He didn't make enough big plays against Penn State, and he had a couple real critical turnovers in that one that could have cost Notre Dame that football game. I'm hoping he doesn't make those against Ohio State, because a team like Ohio State will make you pay severely for those turnovers. So I hope Notre Dame runs the ball a lot. I hope they protect the football well. I hope they play some smart football, and I'll be rooting my ass off for them to win. Hell, I'll probably even throw some on their money line, because I think the spread's disrespectful, and I think the money line is, at the end of the day, though, hard for me to pick Notre Dame to take down a team like Ohio State. I do hope it happens. I will be rooting for the Irish. As you said, many great things has happened this year for the Irish. I just find it hard that they beat Ohio State. I keep rooting for Ohio State to lose, and I keep thinking they'll lose, and they keep motoring on right here in front of our eyes. So I'll be rooting for Notre Dame. I think, man, this is tough. I hope they're hoisting that championship. I really don't hope it's Ohio State. So I'm going to go out of Notre Dame in terms of just, I'll be rooting for them, and I hope they win the game. Again, do I think they will? Not the most confident guy in the world on that, but I'm going to go with
get fired up for the game on Peacock. They have a great mini docu-series. It's kind of like Hard Knocks with Notre Dame right now. For those who want to know a little bit.
Does it feature Manti Te'o and his girlfriend? I'm kidding around, but we'll get back into that.
All right, Sandy.
Hey,
Sandy Cheeks.
Your coach sent someone in the rafters. You guys killed the kid over there at Notre Dame. Let's not.
No, that was Brian Kelly. That was Brian.
Yeah,
Kelly.
and he represented Notre Dame. So you got the whole Florida basketball coaching staff going under the knife of sexual assault allegations right now. You got all of our teams are kind of crumbling. Quick thoughts on that. What's going? All these Florida coaches getting a little too handsy, or what's going on?
It's all speculation. I feel there's always going to be an
innocent until proven guilty.
Agreed with that, but
you got to remember, these are young kids. These are young kids in college that think that they might be doing something, but probably not. But until proven guilty, I think it's all just a bunch of BS. That's just my opinion.
I agree, innocent until proven guilty, but a little weird that all these Florida coaches are going down, or under attack. Maybe they hung out with Joy Taylor a little bit too much over there at ESP or at Fox or whatever the hell is going on over there. I saw a meme. I saw a meme the other day. Hey, when your daughter comes home, Antonio Brown put a tweet out. When your daughter comes home and says she got hired by Fox, it's just a face that's like, fuck. Just hilarious stuff there. But hey, all our teams have overcame allegations or battles or assault chart, whatever the case might be. But we all picked Notre Dame. Again, I don't know how confident I am, but fuck it, I'm rooting for them. Kansas City, Joey and J-Lo went. I went Houston. We all took Detroit. Joey and J-Lo took the Rams, and I took Philly. Joey took Baltimore, J-Lo, and I took Buffalo. Real quick, fellas, before we get to breadwinners and our walk-offs, we're going to get to team-building head coaches. We see the Patriots made a move. J-Lo, you're going to be first one up. The Dallas Cowboys, J-Lo, will hire blank as head coach.
Ooh, tough, man. But if I had to take a wild guess, I'm really thinking Dion. I think they'll offer a lot of money to Dion and buy out his contract and bring him to Dallas. Because let me tell you, he will put butts in those seats at that stadium if you hire a guy like that. I don't expect them to win him a Super Bowl, but to me, it's a popularity and building attendance on that part. So I say Dion will be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Joey, the Jaguars' next head coach will be. You can't pick Dion. We're team building here. So if one of us pick a coach, your name's off the board.
Don't you say Liam, boy.
Hopefully it's like who do we want to go with here? Like Jack McKeon, the baseball manager, who's like 97, or Chico.
Hire Tom Coughlin.
Yeah, Tom Coughlin be great. Maybe Gus Bradley back to Jacksonville. But no, in reality, this is Trevor Lawrence's last stand at people are still on the fence. Is this guy mediocre? Is he good or is he not good? You know, it's hard to say. He's been injury riddled. He's had ups and downs. They need somebody to really figure that out. So I have to go in the offensive minded route. And I don't know if he's interviewed for them yet, but if he really wants a job this year and Ben Johnson ends up in Chicago, let's say, well, you know, we'll get to all the other teams. I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here and say Todd Monken, Baltimore offensive coordinator for quite some time now. He's had some success. He's had a lot of interviews. Again, not sure if he's interviewed with Jacksonville, but they seem a little behind.
He actually did a day or two ago, I believe.
Yeah, so I think they need to install some offensive firepower to see if this is Lawrence's last stand. So I'll go Mr. Todd Monken.
I'll go next. I'll pick here for the New York Jets. It just feels like they have Aaron Glenn written all over their fingertips for some reason. They're stretching this out so much. You're interviewing everybody. Aaron Glenn used to play for the Jets. So give me Aaron Glenn over there. I think he's going to have his choice of head coaching job. Allegedly, he made it known he would like to coach there. I don't know why. I know he used to play there. But, J-Lo, that brings us to you and the Raiders.
Oh, man. I hate this. But I'm going to have to say Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson. I think he goes to the Raiders. I think he's the hottest offensive coordinator available at the moment, even over Liam Coen. I think Coen, to me, is number 2, but number 1 is Ben Johnson. I think Tom Brady is going to be able to pull him away and pull him over to the Raiders. And I think he'll do great things. They'll get their quarterback, hopefully, and then they'll get their team going.
Joey, we're going to give you so far we have Dion to Dallas, Aaron Glenn to the Jets, Ben Johnson to the Raiders, Todd Monken to the Jaguars. What say you, Joey, where the Bears land for head coach?
It's got to be Mike McCarthy, baby. It's got to be
Big Mike.
They are looking to go big. I saw the report this morning that they at least called Pittsburgh about Tomlin, which means to me they are looking for the big fish in the pond. If they strike out on Ben Johnson, which Vegas seems like the small favorite right now, I would go with McCarthy, who knows offense. He's coached Rodgers. He's coached, obviously, Dak Prescott. He's even done decent with Cooper Rush. I think him and Caleb Williams are being a good fit. And for the people who say Adam McCarthy, listen, compare his statistics to Tomlin and Harbaugh. Just because he's got a jelly belly and he's, Caucasian, people give him the short end of the stick. This guy is a master of disaster when it comes to ruining some defenses. I know he might have been not the best in the playoffs at all times, but he's a really good coach who can get this team to have a good culture and consistently get into the playoffs where they're not used to being. So give me McCarthy to Chicago.
Yeah, so now we got McCarthy to Chicago. Dallas gets Dion. The Jets get Aaron Glenn. Ben Johnson to the Raiders, and Jaguars, Tom Monken. I'll close it out with the New Orleans Saints. I think this is the toughest one to kind of tell. I think they want Aaron Glenn and Mike McCarthy, but I think McCarthy prefers Chicago, and I think Glenn prefer the Jets. So I think the Saints are going to have to sit back and relax, and they just went the veteran head coach route last time with Dennis Allen. I think they're going to look for new blood, and I think I think they're going to show interest in Coen, although Coen won't go there. I think it becomes between a Joe Brady type, who's the Bills' offensive coordinator, or, again, I think they want McCarthy or Glenn, but I think if they do strike out, I think they'll end up with a high-end offensive mind, either Kingsbury or something along those lines. But I think Kingsbury gives it one more go in Arizona, and I think the Saints ultimately go Joe Brady, the Bills' offensive coordinator, to try and get back on track. It's a great J.C. Allen, and millions says honor him and acknowledge him in the chat. Fellas, it is time to give breadwinners and final words, and we are up to 48 wins and 37 losses on the season in the world of gambling. We're plus on the year. Next episode, we'll do our GM openings if the Jets and Raiders are still open. But for our head coach openings, Dallas gets Dion, Bears get McCarthy, Saints get Joe Brady, Jets get Aaron Glenn, Raiders get Ben Johnson, and Jaguars get Todd Monken. 48-37 plus 124 on breadwinner money. Joey, if you could put in the chat, it's breadwinner time. We still have one outstanding. That's Big Rican on sports. His is the over in the Ohio State Notre Dame game. J-Lo, you could go anywhere in the world of sports, brother. Give us your final word and then your breadwinner to end it.
Well, fellas, here we're on the off season. Looking forward to doing some scouting of my own, looking into what we can add to our defense to help make a championship run, draft process. I'll be up north with y'all guys for the Super Bowl, chopping it up with y'all. Always a fun time. And like I said, I mean, now my mind's towards hockey and WWE wrestling. So for the most part, and my breadwinner, I'm going to go UFC. I'm going to go Jerry over Jamal Hill, or Jamal Hill, whatever his name is. He's overrated. But give me Jerry in that win.
Jerry over Hill. I like it. Over Jamal Hill, I should say. Joey,
yes,
where's your breadwinner going? J-Lo went UFC. Big Rican went college football. Notre Dame, Ohio State over. So where are you headed?
Irish spread. Notre Dame spread. I'd be stupid to go against it now that made it here. Whatever it's at, 9 points, I believe, maybe. We'll see what it finishes at. But the Notre Dame Fighting Irish spread.
So we got Notre Dame spread, the over in that game. J-Lo, UFC. Give me the Texans spread. I think that's my lock. I find this game hard to be a blowout, so I'll go with Houston Texans. After prop bet last, Dobbins didn't even sniff the damn end zone. I'm done with those fucking player props, pieces of shit. So give me Texans spread in this one. I think it'll be worth it. And my final word is, fellas, stay strong, stay safe. Joey, I'm going to give the floor to you because your team's in a championship. But my final word is, Bucs fans, stay patient. I think we're right there. I think we get Coen back. I think we retain Bowles. I think we fill a couple gaps in the offseason, draft, free agency, tweak things up minorly on the coaching staff, and make ourselves into Super Bowl contenders. Fire the damn cannons. Over to Joey Nips on his final thoughts for Championship Moonday.
No, but go Irish. Love what they've done this year. Outside their loss week 2 to Northern Illinois, they just wiped the floor against ranked opponents, non-ranked opponents, military teams, non-military teams. They've just been doing it all. But my real final word is fuck Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Chicago Bulls and the Chicago White Sox. That old piece of shit should croak and be 6 feet deep for what he's done to these two fucking franchises. I don't like the White Sox, and he ruined them. The Bulls just had 3 home games against all bad opponents and injured teams. They've lost every single one of them, and it's because of you, Jerry Reinsdorf. I gave up my season tickets 2 years ago. You're a piece of dog shit, loser, motherfucker, son of a bitch. I'm done.
Yeah, go with that fat guy who died, his crybaby wife, and go consult her. Waterworks, the real waterworks come from the fucking product you're putting on the floor, sir. It's embarrassing. It's terrible. And that Europe dweeb we hired, who everybody was creaming and chumming themselves about, this guy bottomed out our roster.
Yeah, they call him AK. He might as well take an AK and blast his nuts off. Jesus.
I'd rather have AK-47 Andres Karolinko running the damn show around here. I don't know what's going on. But before we get kicked off, J-Lo, take us home, brother.
Nah, man. I mean, Tones, it's been a fun season with you, man. And with the other fellas, Gene, the rest. You know, it is what it is, but we're not done. We're just getting started pretty much into the off season, like I mentioned earlier. And looking forward to seeing you in about 2 or 3 weeks, man. Watch the Super Bowl, chopping it up, and pretty much hopefully we'll get a good game. Hopefully no Kansas City bullshit again.
You'll be here for the Super Bowl show, and I cannot wait for that, brother. We'll see you in a couple weeks, and we'll see you in a couple days on the next Buccaneers pod here as we take you guys through the offseason. The great J-Lo, Joey Nips, Tampa Tones, Gene from Buck What You Heard, and the rest of the guys. We thank you for a great Saturday showdown per usual. We'll be back on Tuesday for our regular scheduled program. And we love y'all. Peace, fire the damn cannons, and go Bucs. Game on Sunday, man. I know you're nervous for the Rams, but you got to be a little enthusiastic after being there.
Bro, that game atmosphere was ridiculous. The energy, the electricity. That place was rocking. Anyone was there, and a lot of the Super Buck fans were there too. The Bucs.
Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron Show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little cleared. But we're joined by Pat
It looks like
Donovan.
Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like we got a